Dog the Bounty Hunter's wife, Beth Chapman, had one of the most tragic stories of all time.
I announce to you for the first time, Mr. and Mrs. Dwayne Chapman.
Without Beth, I wouldn't be the dog, I don't think.
Look at that. I love it.
Dog and Beth were head over heels in love for years until everything fell apart when she was diagnosed with a rare type of cancer, and she passed away at just 51 years old.
She told the girls and everybody with her mouth. She came out of it a couple times. I love you, and are you guys all okay? Don't worry.
Their love story became even more devastating when Dog announced that he would never date again or remarry.
I'm not gonna get married, ever.
Because Beth was the only love of his life.
If I could design a girl, her body, her heart, maybe I would make it she wouldn't talk as much. I would make a Beth.
Only to date her best friend just a few months later, and then he got remarried to someone else entirely just a couple of years later.
This is going to be the celebrity wedding of 2021.
The story of Beth Chapman and her life before fame, and not even to mention what happened after her passing, is seriously upsetting.
Well, you know, for 2-3 years, she knew this might happen.
Dog the Bounty Hunter was absolutely head over heels in love with his late wife, Beth. Ever since she passed away, he's been through so many emotional highs and lows, and you guys are never going to believe the heartbreaking truth about Dog and Beth's tragic love story. Dwayne Chapman, known by most people as Dog the Bounty Hunter, was crazy in love with his wife, Beth. They were nearly inseparable, and they even rose to fame together on their reality TV shows. But after knowing each other for almost 30 years, the amazing life that Dog and Beth had built together came crashing down unexpectedly. In September 2017, Beth made a shocking announcement. She'd been trying to figure out why she'd been suffering from a scratchy throat for a year when her doctors made a seriously life-changing revelation. Unfortunately, Beth was diagnosed with stage 2 throat cancer, but she and her husband were determined to stay positive. That same month, Dog opened up to People magazine, and what he said was surprisingly uplifting, but she wasn't going to stop fighting. Because of how tough she was, he was confident that she would make it through. But shortly after that, the couple received some very overwhelming news. Beth's health had taken an extremely devastating turn. It was getting increasingly difficult for her to breathe. Her medical team didn't want to waste any valuable time, so they made a truly nerve-wracking decision. Beth had no other option but to undergo an urgent, major operation to remove a mass in her neck. She only had a 50% chance of surviving the 12-hour surgery, and thankfully, she pulled through. But her cancer journey still wasn't over. Although the growth had been successfully removed, the doctors still had to make sure none of the cancer had spread. While Beth and Dog were waiting for the test results to come back, they shared their true feelings in a disheartening interview. Dog and Beth gave a joint interview to Inside Edition, and their hearts seemed incredibly heavy. Neither of them appeared to be as hopeful about the future, and when Beth was asked a startling question, Dog's reaction spoke volumes. Believe it or not, Beth was asked if she thought her husband would be destroyed without her. When she answered yes, Dog lost control of his emotions and broke down in tears. Only a few weeks later, they made an astonishing discovery. In November, the couple announced that Beth's test results had finally come back. She was officially cancer-free. Needless to say, Dog and Beth were so relieved, but just 1 year later, their worlds were once again turned completely upside down. Entertainment Tonight revealed in November 2018 that Beth's cancer had returned. Sadly, she was experiencing horrible symptoms that made it almost impossible for her to breathe. But the bad news didn't stop there. Later that month, people reported that Beth had to have emergency surgery to have another mass removed from her airway. But then, she was faced with a seriously unexpected turn of events. According to In Touch Weekly, Dog and Beth learned that her cancer had spread to her lungs. But that wasn't all they found out. Their hopes and dreams for the future had been absolutely shattered. Tragically, Beth's cancer had advanced to stage 4, and there was no way to treat it. However, her doctors believed there was a way she could somewhat extend her life, and their idea was unbelievable. Surprisingly, Beth decided to start chemotherapy. She'd been told that there was a possibility it might give her 1 extra month with Dog and their kids. Despite the risk, Beth took the chance and kept fighting. In March 2019, Dog made a heartbreaking confession to People magazine. He said that Beth was everything to him, and everything about having to live a day without her was honestly unimaginable. Dog also shared that Beth was still doing her best to work alongside him as a bounty hunter. He was blown away by how strong and hopeful Beth had stayed throughout her second cancer battle, but you're never going to believe what he said next. Dog explained that Beth had inspired him so much, which led to an incredible realization. He revealed that he had somehow fallen even more in love with her. In June 2019, Beth's health started going downhill very quickly, and it took a sharp turn for the worse. A few few days after she was put into a medically induced coma, Beth unfortunately passed away. Dog's life would never truly be the same. Soon, he started spiraling. 2 weeks after losing the love of his life, Dog admitted that the pain was almost too unbearable to keep going. He'd lost nearly 20 pounds and couldn't barely sleep. The heartache Dog felt was so extreme, it even impacted his health in an outrageous way. In September 2019, Dog made an alarming discovery while appearing on the Dr. Oz show. He was suffering from a serious heart problem, so he asked Dr. Oz for help. Dog no longer wanted his own life to end, which was phenomenal, but the probable reason why he had to change of heart was downright shocking. Allegedly, Dog's daughter Lissa found out that same month that a new woman had already started living with her father. Interestingly enough, the woman was best friend and assistant Moon Angel, but that wasn't even the weirdest part. Moon had also previously dated Doug's oldest son, Chris, and according to The Sun, a source claimed that before Beth passed away, she gave her friends and family a truly bizarre warning. Allegedly, Beth told her loved ones to watch out for Moon because she didn't trust her assistant's intentions. She believed that Moon would try to charm Doug and eventually start controlling everything in his life. But that's not the only reason why Dog moving on seems so strange. Before Beth passed away, she and Dog came up with an arrangement that he would never get remarried. Not to mention, Moon had moved in with Dog and it hadn't even been 3 months since Beth's passing. But what happened next was honestly unreal. Dog's children were all disgusted that he let Moon move into his house so quickly. They were also convinced that Moon was taking advantage of Dog's emotional state and was only trying to use him. So when Dog didn't drop Moon, his kids completely cut him off. Dog claimed that even though Moon was helping him figure out his life, they weren't dating. He decided to set the record straight in a mind-boggling way. In January 2020, Dog and Moon appeared on the Dr. Oz show together. Out of nowhere, Dog asked her if she would marry him. It's safe to say that everyone was in total disbelief, including Moon. Surprisingly, she announced that she cared about Dog, but only as a friend. But when Dog revealed that his on-air proposal was just his way of putting the dating rumors to rest, but it turns out that he did way more than just clear the air. This was unbelievable. Dog realized later on how humiliated he made Moon feel by posing to her on national TV. Not long after the startling public proposal, Moon left Dog's house. They ended up having a brief feud, but Dog had astonishingly already moved on to another woman. In March 2020, The Sun reported that Dog was dating Francie Frame. Apparently, the way they met was purely by chance, and it's seriously jaw-dropping. A few months earlier, Dog tried calling a contractor that had done yard work for him in the past. There was no answer, so he left a voicemail. What happened next was surreal. Francie returned Dog's call because the contractor he'd been trying to reach was her husband Bob. But sadly, Bob had passed away a couple of months earlier, which Francie told Dog. They ended up bonding over their similar devastating losses, which led to something crazy. After losing touch for a few months, Francie and Dog finally met up in person. They hit it off right away and they started dating shortly after. But this time, Dog's children had a much different reaction to the new woman in his life. Dog's kids were happy that he found Francie, and they even supported their relationship. Apparently, they even felt like Francie had been sent to Dog by Beth, which so many people online argued against. But Dog's daughter Bonnie defended her dad in a remarkable way. According to the comment that Bonnie left on Dog's Instagram, Beth had changed her mind about not wanting Dog to remarry. Supposedly, before she passed away, she claimed that she didn't want Dog to be alone. Before long, Francie and Dog made an unexpected announcement. 2 months later, the new couple revealed that they were engaged. Dog told The Sun that he and Francie had been able to connect with each other so well that the next step just felt right. After the chaos from the pandemic settled down, Dog and Francie made a big leap. In September 2021, they got married. Dog explained that nobody could ever take Beth's place as Mrs. Dog, but he wanted to make Francie the final Mrs. Chapman. Now, Dog and Francie are in the process of creating the House of Bounty, a foundation to help women who are down on their luck. They recently moved to Marco Island, Florida, where they're hoping to build one of their foundation's first properties. Francie and Dog seem happy in their new life despite both of their tragic losses. But now I'm curious, what are your thoughts on Dog's bizarre situation with Moon and his marriage to Francie? What do you think about how quickly Dog moved on after Beth passed away? Let me know in the comments below.